Real estate agents, do you feel like you're having trouble converting prospects into actual clients? This is the most common thing in the real estate industry. You're doing your best job, you're having as many conversations with prospects as you can, but it doesn't seem to be converting to appointments and then clients that end up at the closing table. Well, let's get back to the basics here. The L.P.M.A.M.A script, you might have heard about this. L.P.M.A.M.A is basically a buyer lead script that walks through the basics of converting a buyer prospect into an actual client or appointment. If you're just simply following the L.P.M.A.M.A, and I'll go through that here, if you're just going letter by letter and filling out, taking notes, you're probably missing conversion opportunities. So here's how to supercharge your L.P.M.A.M.A script right away. I'm Chris Mullenberg, founder of the Mullenberg team at eXp Realty, and I coach agents to grow their business, sell more homes, be more profitable, but most importantly, build it in a way that does not take their life from them. So building a sustainable business, and this is one of the best ways to do it, is to increase your conversion. If you're already working your tail off, why not convert more prospects into actual clients that get to the closing table? So L.P.M.A.M.A, it's an acronym, stands for number one, location. All right, so you have a sign call or somebody is talking to you about buying a home. They're just a prospect at this point. Now you're walking them through the L.P.M.A.M.A and you're saying, okay, great, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what location are you interested in shopping for a home in? That's the simple side of the question. But what about digging a little bit deeper and saying, if they say, yeah, we'd love to buy in Fort Collins, great, is there another top 2 towns that you would consider outside of Fort Collins? So that really forces them to say, okay, if we have top 3 towns, okay, yeah, we'd consider Loveland and Windsor, let's say. If you don't ask that question, you may find that this prospect that you were talking to about Fort Collins, you call in 2 months from now and they say, oh yeah, we bought new construction in Berthoud, which is 30 miles from here. Well, you didn't even know that because you didn't ask the question. So add a little bit extra to the location question and also ask them what's important about location. Is it lifestyle, walkability, bikeability, schools? What about location is actually important to them? Then you can suggest some other locations outside of what they told you. P in L.P.M.A.M.A stands for price. So instead of just saying, great, what price or what price point would you like to spend on your new home? Let's get into where the rubber meets the road for most buyers, and that is monthly payment. What monthly payment are you trying to stay within? And really understand their monthly budget, because they may not fully get how that translates into a purchase price for a home. So they might artificially set their price point for shopping a little too low or maybe even too high, and they're unrealistic. So really get down to the nitty-gritty on, hey, what monthly payment is comfortable for you? One, you might understand that this buyer is unrealistic and they might not even have the monthly budget to buy in the town that you're selling them in. Otherwise, price point could limit them. They might not even know that they could afford $50,000 more in a home because you can get them a better price point. And this is where we start to talk about interest rate buy downs, credits that you can get from the seller, things that you can do to negotiate to allow you to say, great, you'd like to stay under $500,000. If there was a way though that I could keep your monthly payment where you want it and your dream home was at $550,000, would you take a look at that? And the answer is probably yes if they're a serious buyer. So you've just now opened a lot more buying opportunity by getting at the root of price, which is monthly payment. Okay, the first M here in L.P.M.A.M.A typically comes down to mortgage. Instead of just asking the buyer prospect, have you talked with a mortgage lender yet? I take the proactive approach right there on the call and say, hey, I'd love to set up a 3-way call with one of my go-to lenders. Are you available, right here after this call? I could give my go-to lender a call. We could jump on an intro call just to get an idea of numbers. Doesn't mean you have to go through with a complete pre-approval, but so often a prospect hangs up the phone with you, you send them a lender list of preferred lenders, and then they never take the next step. So I like to initiate the actual 3-way call, either Zoom or on the phone, to make sure they get into this mortgage conversation. So be more proactive to make sure that they actually get on the mortgage conversation, because when people actually see the real numbers, they're a lot more likely to convert and get into home shopping. So don't miss that chance to convert. The letter A in L.P.M.A.M.A, this stands for, well, the first A stands for agent. Have they talked with a real estate agent? Have they hired an agent? And instead of just simply asking that question, hey, are you working with an agent, or have you looked with an agent? A lot of times they might lie because they're uncomfortable, they don't want to be sold, they're not ready, they don't think they're ready to hire an agent yet. So I ask questions like, hey, is anybody sending you off-market homes that are not on the MLS or on the internet? And they'll say, well, what do you mean? No, I guess nobody's sending us that. Okay, great. Has anyone taken the time to go on a market research tour with you? Right? That's a whole different question and set of questions than just, have you talked with an agent? Are you working with an agent? This is very true at open houses. When people walk in and you ask, hey, are you working with an agent? 70% of the time they say yes, and a lot of the times they're lying. They don't actually have an agent. So ask better questions around agency and just say, is anybody providing value in this way? Are they sending you off market opportunities? Do they have a secret seller list? Is anyone sending you good deals, to where you could buy a home under market value? Those are questions that pique their interest and they want to know more. And you, of course, will be the agent that provides those things. Okay, the next M is motivation. I try to get at motivation as soon as I possibly can in the conversation. Just why is it that they're looking to make a move? Because people don't make home moving decisions based on simply price and location. Of course, it's motivation. There's something going on in their life that's motivating them to think about a real estate move. So dig 3 layers deep on the motivation questions. What is important to you about this move? What happens if you don't make your move by X time? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you said you'd love to be moved by fall this year. What happens if you're not moved by the fall? So understand what's driving them. Are they coming up on the end of a lease term? A lot of times, without asking that question, you won't know that their lease ends in 90 days from now. Okay, well, they need to be shopping for a home now and getting under contract in the next 60 days then, and you can help them do that. Without asking those deeper questions, though, you may not know what their true motivation is. Also, you want to make sure you protect your time. If somebody is just like, well, if the right home pops up, we'd make the move, but we're totally fine. We don't need to go anywhere. We could stay in our home for 5 more years where we're at. Okay, you need to gauge that motivation to understand where in the pipeline they actually are. Are they somebody that you really want to drive around and show homes to right now? Are they willing to be a motivated buyer? Are they in the position to be the motivated buyer? Okay, I like to throw in a W into L.P.M.A.M.A, so call it what you will, L.P.M.A.M.A, but W is website. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what websites are you currently browsing homes on? Just curious. And they'll typically say, oh, Zillow or Redfin or one of the major sites. This is where you can add immediate value and say, hey, that's great. If you like using those sites, go for it. Just know that my site is updated by the minute with the actual MLS data. So let me go ahead and send you the link. What's your best email? Gives you a chance to capture their email address. And then you can ensure that they're looking at homes on your website, not simply Zillow or the other large sites, because you'll have a lot more insight and control when they're looking at your site, because you can see what they're looking at, see how many times they've viewed a home. You can access and send them homes directly through your site. So it just keeps them in your ecosystem from the start. And the final A is where the rubber meets the road. It's the appointment. End every single call or conversation with setting up the next appointment. This is often where conversion for agents falls short, is that you end a great conversation, you've gathered good information, and then there's no real clear next step. It's just, well, I guess we'll follow up, or I'll check in with you in a couple days. Go ahead and set that market research tour right there on the phone or at the open house. Set the next appointment in which you can get together. Set the lender call, the 3-way call. Anything that drives to the next appointment, you will see your conversion rates go up exponentially. Because even a well-meaning buyer, they might not even mean to ghost you, but if you don't give them the next actionable step, lots and lots of times they'll just go into your database and you'll never be able to get them back on the phone again. So make sure you take the opportunity while you're chatting to book that appointment. You will thank yourself, because you'll see yourself at the closing table in a few months, and just keep doing this on repeat.